something about obedience.
Obedience? I think obedience is a word that a lot of us can understand with a negative connotation. Especially when it came to like your mom or your dad, when they told you, you have to obey, you have to obey. But looking at it through the lens of Christ, especially through his word, that it says in Luke 11:28, that blessed are those who hear the word of God and obey it. We can see it as an opportunity and not an obligation. And that's exactly what happened to me. And I'd like to share a story with you guys about me being obedient and then God allowing me the opportunity to experience overflow through an offering and experience really just an openness into his heart and how he sees obedience. So, my dad and I didn't really have a really great relationship. My mom and him divorced when I was 4, and we moved to the United States. So there were some years in between by the time I was 4 and 8 that I really didn't get to see my dad often or a lot. When I went back to Puerto Rico, I was 8 years old, and he used to live just one road away from me. Literally, it could take him 5 minutes to come to my house. But he still didn't come. Years passed, I became a teenager, and it wasn't until the age of 19 that something really dramatic happened in my home. And my dad came back into the picture. At the age of 19, I walked into a church and decided to, for lack of a better word, you can say obey, be blessed, listen to the voice of God. And I remember accepting Christ and praying one day. And praying is just talking to God. And God spoke back. And he said, I want you to call your father. And I asked, how many times, God? And he said, until I tell you to stop. So at first, you could think, sure, I'll call him. He's my dad. But further, I asked God, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to tell him? You know, we haven't spoken in so many years. He is my father, but it's not like I have a familiar relationship with him. So God said, you are going to call him and say, how is your day? After you ask him how your day is, no matter what he responds, you're going to say, I love you, and I'm thinking of you. And you're going to hang up. And I proceeded to do that. Did I feel uncomfortable? Yes. See, obedience allows us to be open to God's heart, but also to open ours. I would soon discover that through that act of obedience, God would start to overflow his grace and mend the relationship that I had with my father. So I would call him, and sometimes we have to look at the one who's asking us to obey rather than looking at the outcome. Because some days I would call my dad and he would say, hello, good morning. Other days he would say, I'm doing exactly the same as when you called me yesterday, and hang up. In those moments, I remember feeling angry, feeling frustrated, but God had asked me to do something. And I grabbed hold to that word in Luke 11:28. Blessed are those who listen to the word of God and obey. So I focused on my owner, on the one who asked me to obey, and not the outcome. That happened for 2 years. And after 2 years, an opportunity that I would have never seen happened. My dad came to the Lord and accepted the Lord as Jesus Christ. He stopped drinking, and I'm proud to say that in August, actually this month, in a couple of weeks, my dad will be starting ministry. He'll be starting seminary and ministry and getting his degree, opening up the Word of God to come closer to God. So I don't know what God is asking you to do today, but I will tell you this, it's worth it. Trust God because He is faithful. And when we obey Him, the outcome, the opportunity is amazing.
Lo último lo corta, porque le seguí dando. Yeah.